I want to say I love the series, and your character has been a wonderful addition. So, congrats on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And in a genre that typically ignores history in favor of pirate tropes and whitewashing, what did it mean to you for David to write this rich and layered character?
Oh my gosh, it was so vital, so culturally and ancestrally important for me in particular. And going into it was very I think I had a lot of reservations about how she would be portrayed and like how I would be able to do her justice, for a character that's this historically important, and is not really in the cultural lexicon in that way. So I think that what was great about it is that the realization came very quickly that doing her justice would mean to be channeling her energy in a different way through humor, through the artistic license of like how how to portray this character. And it's funny because when I auditioned for this show initially, I had just finished a play that was an adaptation of Dial M for Murder. So I was in this like 1950s heightened like mid-Atlantic thing. And weirdly, when I read the script, I was like, I don't know why, but this kind of slots in sort of perfectly. It was like a continuation of this character. And when David and I first spoke, he said something that was so astute. And he said that my interpretation reminded him of Don Draper of the Sea. And I was like, fuck, that's like exactly what I'm going for. I didn't have words for it, but like, yeah, that's exactly what it is, right? So it felt like channeling her energy through that lens allows for an audience to go and actually look up the real historical character, Zheng Yi Sao, and want to know more about her through this other avenue of getting, involved with the character in a fun way.
You make her such a pleasure to watch, and you defy the expectations early on. Early on, you're like, okay, it's Sue the soup maker, and by the end of the first episode, you're like, oh my god, it's it's just powerful, the pirate queen. It's like
Yeah.
throws you for a loop, and then you soon to find out that she's not only a fierce but fair leader, but she's also a skilled negotiator and able to kind of pretty much sweet talk anybody.
Yeah.
What was it like exploring her and exploring that those aspects of her?
I mean, it's fascinating. It's so multifaceted, and it's such a different way of working because, as I said, I don't have a lot of experience on camera. I'm primarily a theater actor, so sort of relinquishing control of like knowing where the arc is going to go sort of ahead of time is a different way of working. So it's fascinating finding out more about her as the season goes on. I'm finding out more about her, and I'm finding more facets to her, and I'm finding, the differences between how she is as a tactician and how she is in her romantic relationships, which is those are very different, very different aspects of her. So yeah, it was really a learning process, learning for myself how to work in this capacity, and learning more about the character and going deeper and deeper into who she is.
And I'm a big fan of your delivery. You kind of touched upon it, but you've got this kind of modern vibe to it with a little bit of confidence, a little bit of snarkiness, and I'm wondering, once you found that path, how did you develop it? Was there any more inspiration, anything else you looked to kind of create this character?
No, this was, honestly, it was like one of those rare times where the script is so beautifully written. It kind of just all made sense. It kind of slotted in. I didn't have questions, which is rare. I mean, I spend a lot of time. I think I'm a perfectionist, so I spend a lot of time figuring out what the delivery wants to be or what. But it's so beautifully whole on the page already. That yeah, it made sense. It kind of just clicked in. And once I was in there, I was just kind of in
there. And the character is able to conquer like the seas and what's the word? Take over ships. I'm not good with pirate speak, so let me just say she's a very powerful character, but yet when it comes to her romantic relationship or attempts, so she's not so smooth. She doesn't have much of a flirting game. So what is your take on her relationship and where you see it going?
I can't speak to where I see it going. That's a mystery to all of us, most of all me. But the take on the relationship, I think, is just that she is such a workaholic that she has had very little time to sort of develop an emotional vocabulary. And for my own brain, you know, obviously historically she was married previously, and in my mind, the husband has died. I don't know if David feels this way, but in my mind, the husband has died, and from then on, it's just been kind of like really shady relationships, and that's why we have an all-female crew, right? There was like Auntie saying we can't we can't have any more men on this ship because you're gonna fuck them in a bad way. So I think that the difference with Olu is that he's so kind and so generous and so soft, and that's very different than what she's used to, and that's something she really needs. She needs to find some vulnerability and some avenue to be vulnerable.
Yeah, when he has trouble kind of organizing anything, and you're just pretty much trouble just kind of fitting in as a pirate.
Yeah.
It's funny to see this kind of, you know, the strength of your character, and like like I said again, the confidence with this, you know, I would say bumbling, but less experienced, less confident love interest. It's
Pretty
like oil
bumbling.
and water almost.
Yeah.
Over the decade, you've been on some of my favorite shows, and it's safe to say this is your heaviest comedic role. What is it like joining this talented comedic team of actors and getting to work with, you know, amazing performers like Taika and Reese and the rest of the crew?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's a dream come true, really. I continue to be just humbled to have this opportunity. And so intimidating. I mean, when I got to set, I was terrified. I was a ball of terror. But they, you know, the entire cast and crew are the most genius, angelic, loving, supportive, welcoming human beings. And it was really a dream come true. Such a beautiful experience.
And was it challenging for you, though? As you said, you're not you're mainly on stage. What's like the transition? You know, how is it going from as like a series regular to you know, that's a big jump from the theater.
Yeah, it's again, just such a learning curve. I mean, it's a really different process altogether. And so it was about learning a different way to work. And I learned a lot. It was like being in school all over again. You know, you kind of learn as you go, and watching these seasoned professionals, comedic actors and improvisational actors, which I am most definitely not that. So it was an amazing learning experience.
And what are your favorite aspects of the character? Is there something that you connect with most?
I think that, I mean, her deadpan humor, the amount of power that she wields. I love the fighting aspects. I'm not a great stunt person by any means, but that stuff brings me so much joy, and it always has. So to get to marry all of those things is brilliant. Yeah.
And do you have comedic heroes you look to, inspirations?
I'm blanking off the top of my head, but you know, classic comedians. I grew up watching Dick Van Dyke and I Love Lucy and Mary Tyler Moore. So yeah, more of like the turn of the century type of, not turn of the century, but mid-century type of comedy.
You can't beat that. You know, you go back to it and you realize that it still works. There's a reason that I Love Lucy is on, what, 70 years later, 60 years later?
Yeah.
It's ageless.
Yeah.
It's timeless.
Perfect comedy. I love comedy. If it were up to me, I would always be doing comedy. So that's the most joy-bringing aspect of it.
At the end of the season, we see like this is not the end. There's a partnership with Steed, and of course you don't know where it's going. But as someone who knows the characters as well as you do, what do you see? What do you envision for?
I think that there's a room for her to find again more of her vulnerability and sense of cooperation with others who are also in power, and sharing her power in that way. And we'll see where that leads with the whole team.
The fans are so passionate. What has that experience been like for you?
It's been incredible. I was debriefed by some of the existing crew about what the level of enthusiasm is. And I don't think anything can prepare you for what it actually is when it happens. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's humbling. It's amazing. And particularly hearing from some of the Asian American community and how they're affected by seeing, you know, this character and this level of diversity. It's amazing. And the fan art is incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially in this time when there's so much hate in the world. I think that's one of the things that really connects with me, is just how loving and accepting and open it is, and it doesn't ask questions. It doesn't even explain any like characters. Well, this is, you know, this is their background. No, they just are, and they exist, and love is love. And it's I know as cliche as it is, but it's true, and it's wonderful to see.
Yeah, that's right. Totally.
Do you have 3 words you can use to describe Zheng Yi?
Any 3 words, it can be a short phrase or individuals, hyphenated.
Yeah, I mean, like badass queen.
I love that. That's fantastic. So, well, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck going forward.
Thank you.